Welcome to Jonas and the Mountain Journeys, a series of 8 10-minute readings from my visionary novel, Jonas and the Mountain, a Metaphysical Love Story. I'm your host, author Janis Harper. In the first segment of this podcast, we'll meet the 3 main characters. In this first episode, I'll read chapters 1 and 2, where we meet Jonas. Jonas is trying to meditate in the meditation hall on retreat at Mount Arunachala in South India, but finds it difficult. Thoughts about how poorly he has been treated in his past occupy his mind, and these thoughts mutate into questions about victimization and betrayal and why bad things happen. The narrative then changes to an earlier time and a surprising internal event that rocked his world and eventually brought him to India. Either the world exists or it doesn't. Jonas drops into meditation easily, like a pebble into a deep pool falling down into the quiet dark. The light flickering of thoughts occasionally nudge at the edge of his consciousness, but mostly there is silence, stillness, nothing. A deep breath expands his lungs, and he feels the welcome peace fill him, palpable, soft. And although he doesn't think this, because he isn't thinking, it feels like pure relief. Or maybe he's aware of the feeling when those flickers of thoughts filter down like wavering ribbons of light from the surface into the depth of his still pool. Relief, one flicker. The awareness of the slowing down of breath, another flicker. Either there is something out there, or it's all in here and reflected out there. The world mirroring our own inner landscape, allowing us to meet what we need to. The world as symbol, metaphor, always personally meaningful if you can see it, if you can understand, interpret the symbols. This is what Jonas's postgraduate English degree in literary criticism was good for. He was adept at interpretation. He could apply the same skills he learned to analyze metaphor, symbol, plot, theme, and structure in literary fiction to his own life, another kind of fiction. What is the overarching theme? Main conflict? Important metaphors, repeating symbols. In life, as in literature, repetition is very important, a big clue, pointing to issues that are uniquely yours. Repetition can indicate theme, and theme gives a life shape, separates it from others, creates individuality, or at least the illusion of it. What's the theme of Jonas's life, the major theme? For a period of 3 years, the theme seemed to be betrayal. Betrayed by his wife of 10 years, by the college he gave 7 years of his life to as a sessional instructor, by his best friend. Everything fell apart, one after another, in close succession, like a line of dominoes falling down. No, dominoes don't create a sturdy structure, and Jonas's life used to feel sturdy. Maybe it was more like an earthquake that shook a house down to shambles on the ground, or a tornado that swept it up in its vortex, bits and pieces of staircase, table legs, and light fixtures flying around. Nothing he did for a few years was right. His whole world looked wrong. He was wrong. Obviously, the universe was banging him on the head, trying to get his attention. No, wrong way. Stop. But it wasn't until he had nothing, not until his life was unrecognizable, that he finally stopped fighting for himself. Or was he fighting with himself? And heeded the call. He never asked himself, Why me? People who did that seem to not understand something fundamental, that being what you imagine to be a good person doesn't mean you aren't going to experience bad things. And why would you not want to experience it all? The whole life show, including the ugly parts. Why would you think you should be exempt from a whole realm of experience just because it doesn't feel good? Maybe there are some people who do feel like they're better than others. Maybe they are the ones who ask, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Or maybe there are those who naively believe that if they're being as good as they know how to be, nothing bad will happen. Cause and effect, karma. Of course, Jonas didn't deserve it, any of it. He was the victim, any way you cut it. And there's another strange thing. Why people believe that some people deserve what they get and others don't. You often hear this kind of thing said about murder victims. She didn't deserve to die. What does that even mean? Anyhow, why not me is the better question. Falling apart is common enough in literature. It's almost a requirement. And more often than not, it precedes a greater personal awareness, a never-before imagined perspective, a setting out on a new path toward a new world. Jonas could see those possibilities after the fact, a long time after. At the time, he could barely see a thing. He just concentrated on getting through each day, which took all of his attention and effort. But that's how stories end. Crisis is reached, conflict is resolved, denouement occurs, and the protagonist walks away changed into a new, better life. So, did he have to go through all that to get here? Where's here? Sitting with 30 other people at the feet of his guru, D, in the open-air meditation hall in an ashram at the foot of a holy mountain in India. And obviously not meditating anymore. His dark, still pool is now all lit up by these thoughts. Just let them go, Jonas. It's okay. Be here now. He breathes in here. He breathes out now. Jonas drops again into the deep, dark pool. He feels his body relax, his shoulders fall, his stomach muscles unclench, his breath slow. Relief. Here comes the soft peace. Two months before Jonas found himself in India, something unusual occurred. Sunk deeply into a familiar stagnant pool of limiting thoughts, he came up for air and heard himself crying out, "Where do I go from here?" And an answer came, "Where are you now?" The voice seemed to come from somewhere, but he couldn't determine the location. Was it outside his body, over there to the left, or inside of him somehow? In thin, ringing tones, he both heard and saw the words, each one turning into a balloon, disappearing in a moment and filled with that sound. The ringing echoed in his head. Where am I now? What a question. Then Jonas knew the answer. I am here. That felt right. Here. He was just here. It was enough. He wasn't anywhere ugly. He wasn't on the brink of desperation. He wasn't stuck between a rock and a hard place. He had thought he was there, but he wasn't. He was just here. Jonas felt something loosen inside. It was as if he had tightened the strings on his guitar too much, but didn't know it, and now they were loosened. They could make sounds. He could hear the voice again, less thin this time, fuller, sweeter, a chord, maybe A or D. I am here too. Jonas knew that if he thought too much about what was happening, that he would get in the way of it. He felt an opening, the size and shape of an almond, and it started to vibrate. He knew somehow that there was a kind of backlog occurring, something, words, sounds, images, was piling up. Jonas heard a popping sound and felt himself recede. Great galleons cross faraway oceans to bring untold treasure and delicacies to those gathered around bonfires outside the caves that are their homes. Time is measured by the motions of currents and wind and moon. Moods allow for rhythms of feeling that synchronize with the wonders of nature. Why has this boat come in? There is little on it. Where are the provisions, the food? This one is not bringing in, but carrying away. And there are some who may choose to leave on this boat and take it to a far-off shore, undreamed of in the measured moments and pungent air in the caves. Thank you for joining me on Jonas and the Mountain Journeys. I'm your host, Janis Harper, author of the novel Jonas and the Mountain, a Metaphysical Love Story. You've just heard me read chapters 1 and 2, where we meet Jonas. If you'd like to get to know him more and follow his transformative adventure, pick up a copy of Jonas and the Mountain, either online or ask for it at your local bookstore. I look forward to sharing the next episode of this journey with you.